Welcome aboard Trucksama Strikes Again. I'm Maria,
I'm Tiffany.
your co-host on this bus ride through the thrilling realms of isekai comics. Buckle up as we journey through worlds where battling mythical beasts and navigating virtual realities are just part of the ride. Join us as we explore the heart-pounding, action, and unforgettable characters on our tour through the pages of isekai manhwa. Fasten your seatbelts because when Trucksama Strikes Again, the adventure is always on the move. Today, we're going to be talking about... What are we going to be talking about, Tiffany?
Death. Wait, just kidding. Hold on.
We're going to be talking about death.
No. Today we're talking about death. Villains are destined to die. Very
Right.
positive.
Yeah.
Optimistic.
We can tell this is going to be a fun ride. A little bit about this comic. The official summary is the game, Daughter of the Duke Love Project, is a breeze to clear as the heroine. But when playing on hard mode as the hated villainess, Penelope Eckhart, one wrong move could lead to death. To make matters worse, there's no reset button in sight. Penelope must gain the affection of one of the male leads to clear the game, all in a single playthrough. All 5 male leads are hard to charm for various reasons, and Penelope is on a time crunch as the game will get exponentially harder to clear once the heroine makes her appearance. Will Penelope be able to safely reach a happy ending? And what will be her reward for clearing the game? So, that's the story we're getting into. Sounds positive, right? The first episode is called Normal Mode Cleared. So, a little bit more in detail about the webcomic is that Penelope, or what was her name? Okay, you know what I noticed when reading this? They never
What?
say her name.
What?
They never say the female
That's
lead's
kind of gag.
actual name. Because
Because I was about to I was about to say that like none of her family members even have faces, and that's when you know they're bad. Because their faces are non-existent, and we don't know the brothers' names either, do we?
No, she just calls them eldest brother, and second eldest.
Yeah.
She never says their names. She calls her dad father. And her... Okay,
Yeah.
we're getting ahead of ourselves because we haven't even explained. So, we got into this because the first 2 chapters, which is what we're going to be covering up today, they never say her name. I was like, how am I supposed to refer to her? Like, do I just say Penelope? Because that's who she's going to become?
Yeah.
Or female lead? So, the female lead in this story, I think... No, they don't even say it in the actual real summary. I think it was Choshyon. It was something like that. The first line of the whole webcomic is the illegitimate child of a wealthy conglomerate family. How romantic is that, especially for a girl? What's so romantic about that? I don't know, because I read it and I was like, what about it? What about it?
I guess like this like when you continue it on, it is the Cinderella story.
Which it's not really, because Cinderella gets picked up by the prince, not a father figure, you know?
Also, she wasn't part of an illegitimate family.
I mean, that's okay. And that's what we get into, though, because if you think about it, she lived with her mom, right? Penelope, the female lead, she's basically living for the first few years of her life with her mom until her mom passes away, because that's what the comic shows. She passes away, and then her dad, who was nowhere to be found, is like, oh, I guess I can take you in, right? And that should have been a fairy tale story, like a Cinderella story. Oh, she went from rags to riches. But it was not like that, obviously.
Also, the brothers look like, this is spoiler, but they look like the brothers that are gonna appear for Penelope.
Yes.
Like carbon copies.
Legitimately, like, even the hair. I mean, I think that's the reason why... I think there's 2 reasons why the original female lead's family doesn't have faces.
Even the dad, oh my gosh.
Yeah, none of them do. One of them is that you can, like, put yourself in Penelope's shoes and imagine the people that have hurt you, so it, like, hits a little bit harder. And second of all, it's
I
also
think that's
so she can
mhm.
kind of easily replace her real quote unquote family and the comic, like the game one, right?
I just thought it was the artist or the author being kind of lazy and being like, you know what, just
That's the third
swap
reason.
out a couple.
That's the third reason.
Swap out a couple, like it's fine. Like we let's not have to like create another like design another character because it's a lot of work. Like
And they don't even matter. They don't even matter. I mean, they kind of do because it shapes Penelope to be who she is, but
yeah.
they don't need to show you their faces. As you go on into the story, the first chapter
Hmm.
is literally just her backstory, which is, I feel like it's something that's very unique about this comic. A lot of isekai comics just have the
Start.
character be like, oh, I lived in Korea. I was an office worker who died from overworking or cancer, because it's always one of those two. And then
Hmm.
they get transported into the last novel they read or the last game they played, and
Hmm.
that's how the whole story starts. No backstory about who they are or like what makes them
Hmm.
them. It's just kind of like, oh yeah, I was hardworking and I died because people messed me up, and that's it. Like they just tell you, they don't show it to you, which I feel like is something very unique about this webcomic, you know. And I appreciate getting a good chunk of the chapter being about her original life.
Yeah. I
Yeah.
agree. I think it's an interesting setup, and for sure, I think ahead of its time, it doesn't get like this is getting a little bit ahead of ourselves, but I think there's lots of aspects of this manhwa that is like at the time pretty revolutionary as far as like changing the genre goes,
Mm-hmm.
especially when there was like a lot of repetition, and that's the biggest critique of isekai is it's just all the same. Do we enjoy it regardless? Of
Yeah.
course.
Give me
But
the same story in 7 different fonts. I
mhm.
will read it the same. Because a lot of the other webcomic, I mean, this is from, I think this started 2020, right? It's from 2020. The comic first started
Yes,
being
it
posted.
it was
Let me look that
was it
up.
2020? I feel like it
Let
was
me.
2020. Yeah, you're right.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah. I only read like maybe like the first 20-ish chapters because
Hmm.
I felt like it was really good and I wanted to binge it more, but I wanted to wait until it was over, right? So I didn't. I
Hmm.
wanted a good chunk. When I first started reading it, there was barely any chapters out. I basically waited 4 years to get back into it again, which is, it's fun because I've been
Yeah.
thinking about it because I see it so much on Instagram about it being one of the best villain
Hmm.
stories out there. So I'm excited to
Hmm.
be rekindling that obsession. But
Yes.
I do think I think it was around 2020 when the whole villainous story started becoming more popular, and I really like how this one, unlike others, doesn't have the character's previous life just throw it away, like, oh, it doesn't matter who they were, and they have zero
Hmm.
consideration, or like they don't wrap up their life at all. It just, yeah, I'm this person now, I have no qualms about it, that's just it, I'm this person.
Yeah.
While Penelope, she constantly reflects on her past life and is like, I'm living the same hell,
Good point.
right? So I feel like it's also really important that they did that. Her going to this new life and suffering the same abuse she already did, having seen that and not actually being like, oh yeah,
Mhm.
I went through the same. But like actually seeing it
Yeah.
is more powerful.
I think one thing, it's a risk for sure because when you have an isekai world already, it's much more flashy.
Right.
From like like an illustration standpoint, it's much easier for people to catch on the attention of like, oh, this is beautiful. But like, of course, modern day just doesn't entrance us as much because we do like see it pretty much every day. So we kind of take it for granted in a sense.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, I think you're completely right. Like starting it with getting to know her first as a person, it's a really good like way to also make us feel like we went through the isekai process.
Yes. Instead of like, oh wow, boom, that's it. I'm in the new
Yeah.
world. I
Hmm.
didn't go through anything. I'm just this new person. This is great. I feel like this comics is like a little bit more serious in the, I guess, the repercussions of isekaiing as well. Like it's not just like, oh joy, I'm so happy to be in a new world in a way. But for Penelope, it's more of like, hey, I literally just got out of that abusive household and I'm stuck again.
Yeah. it is like very challenging. I think like because we see her honestly being very expressive for having such like a cold and like traumatic, honestly, childhood. Because again, she's like holding out hope. So
Mm-hmm.
to like give her basically a hopeless situation once again, like it's really hard, I think, mentally for her not to give up, and just be like, whatever, I don't care anymore.
It's so
I'm
depressing.
just,
It's so depressing.
it's
It made
really
me genuinely
depressing.
sad. I think that's what the
And
author was going for, though.
I think so too. Because one thing I will say that I always got from this manhwa is that Penelope as a character seems very like one note when we're not, because we're mainly with other people. So she seems like no emotion. Reading back the first chapter, it's like, no, like Penelope or the original female lead used to have so many expressions, used to have like so much emotion, but when she got isekai'd, like she just her emotions were like off
Yeah.
the entire time. Until later, but we'll talk about that later.
Yeah. Another thing that I really like, if you go a little bit further down into the chapter, I mean, you know that she has a different mother from the brothers. This is in her original life. Penelope's original life, she basically, it's a shitty situation because her real mom dies. And then
Mhm.
her dad, who's nowhere to be found, is like, yeah, I'll take you home. But I guess you gotta understand where the brothers are coming from. I feel like the resentment of realizing my dad had an affair years ago and has a child that I never knew about.
Yeah.
Right? Maybe that explains a little
But
bit.
is it
Does not justify anything that they did, but
hmm
it like explains why they just, instead of like what happened to Yvonne, where everyone just automatically loved her. It's
Yeah.
more of, well, Yvonne was of the same family, so I guess that also. The point is that you're getting a random child introduced and be like, yeah, this is my child that I had without your knowledge. You're obviously the brother's gonna be like, it's not. I think I would be pissed too if my dad randomly be like, ta-da, you have a sibling, and I was like, who is this? Who is this?
But I mean, I think though where that's different is like say because Yvonne's situation versus the original female lead is so different in the sense
Oh,
that they
it's
never
not.
had.
It's so different.
So I have like no sympathy in the sense of like for how many years? Like what? Because she's like 20 something. Like 20 around 20 years, you just were like a dick. Like you couldn't get over it. I'm sorry.
Yeah,
Like
yeah,
that
exactly.
just
It's
to
not.
me,
I think if you're gonna be mad at anyone, you're not mad at the child. You're mad at your parent.
yes.
I can see why they're resentful. I can't understand why they would blame it on Penelope because it's not her fault at all. It's not her fault that she was born. If you're gonna blame
Right.
anyone,
And
blame the dad.
they don't have to be friends. Like the thing is they were going out of their way to be ill will towards her.
Right.
Um,
And
so
what sucks is that the dad was neglectful because the dad could see with the brothers. You can't tell me you don't know,
yeah,
but he does not care. Like he's just straight up neglectful because when he introduces her,
right.
he's like, "Oh, she might have a different mother, but she's still your younger sister. Take good care of her."
Do
Like,
you think this is the just enough parenting trope that's kind of happening? Like, there's like a theory of like, okay, some parents choose to save for college for their child, but some parents are like, well, I've fed you, I've housed you for 18 years of your life.
but he
Now
didn't
you're
though.
on your own.
But he didn't though.
But like
That's the part that
my
gets me
point
mad too.
my point being, like, he very much seems to have the second parenting style where they're like, well, I'm providing you food and I'm providing you housing. What more do you want?
Yeah, it is really sad because she's like, she explains her situation by saying, the child who couldn't even beg somewhere, the child whose life was better when she lived with her mother in a tiny room, whose life had become so unbearable she longed to be sent to an orphanage. Like, she would legitimately rather have no ties with her family, quote unquote family,
Mhm.
than
Yeah.
like be with them. That's how bad her life was with them. She would rather be
Yeah.
disowned and on her own in an orphanage than suffer what her brothers and her dad made her go through.
Mhm.
That's when she was around
Mhm.
12 that she gets introduced to the family, and she finally, it says she
Yeah.
finally gets out 6 years later. So it took her 6 years, obviously, until she was like 20 to finally go to college. And then when she does, her father doesn't even really care. He like gives her older brother, be like, okay, you take care of our accommodations. You find her
Yeah.
an apartment, and then she goes to the apartment, and it's a literal shithole. She's like, this. I would have.
Mhm.
It would have been better to live on the streets, but at least she's free, and she says that I'm free now.
Okay, going back to your point about the brothers being resentful,
Mm-hmm.
I think the reason why the dad is so hands off on this situation is because one, he's gifting her. It's like even like extent. I'm trying not to even say gifting her, but like he thinks it's a gift to just give her like housing and like be able to live in this upper class whatever. But for the brothers, it may be a sense of guilt where he's like, I did do something wrong and I don't want to say sorry. So as a result, I will allow you to like bully this girl.
What a father! Like honestly, get out of
I I'm
here.
not I'm not defending him. I'm just
I
trying to
know. I know
understand
you're
why
understanding why
what
he
his
would even do
logic
it,
is.
but I
Because
think he just does not
I would,
care because he was not in her life for
yeah,
12 years. Like he
right.
could care less about what happens to her as long as his name is cleared. You know.
I think to some extent I'm transferring like the feelings, like the stuff we know about the other Penelope's father over to this father.
Mm-hmm.
Because like again, that's they have very similar situations. So that is by far like what I'm assuming, therefore, like why he does what he does. Because it is very bizarre. But
Yeah.
honestly, in cases, I feel like this is still pretty common. You get like a parent that is more hands off, sees what's happening, doesn't condone it, but also doesn't do anything about it.
I mean, if you're enabling it, you're part of the problem. So,
For sure.
you
I'm
know.
not disagreeing with you. I'm just saying that this is not as uncommon, I think, as far as a trope goes. Because I
No,
think when you
definitely
compare it
not.
to, mhm,
It's like, oh,
yeah,
I'm gonna let you run free and do whatever you want because I'm a crappy father and I never did anything for you. So, yeah, sure, bully the child that I brought in
yeah,
as long as it doesn't get out that you're doing it. Like, aside from all that crappy stuff, she finally is free because she got into supposedly a prestigious college.
yeah,
She has her own apartment now. She's free from the ties to her family, and she's so happy about it. And I want to actually bring up a lot of the panels of her happy because
mm-hmm,
I love. Let me actually show the exact panel that I'm talking about. It's the panel of her finding out about the game. So she's in college. She's walking campus with her friend, and her friend she like overhears a conversation of like people passing by talking about how hard mode is really hard and how the affections does not go up. And
mm-hmm,
I it's like a panel of the original female lead with like pretty I really like the way that the artist tackled this about showing how she's beautiful. Obviously she's beautiful in Penelope because she has a pretty hair and the colorful eyes, but in her original body, I really liked how the artist still portrayed her as beautiful in her original form and like as a Korean woman. Because I feel like compared to other
mm-hmm,
webcomics, whenever they show the OG female lead's body, they usually equate like looking quote unquote looking ordinary as being ugly. It's like, oh yeah, I was ugly. I had long pretty hair, long black hair, and like brown eyes. I was ugly. And they say that too in a lot of the other comics. It's like nothing compares to how I look right now. Which sure,
right.
but I really like how they're like she's beautiful in her original form and Penelope, and I really liked how the artist took the time to make her look beautiful, and like you can see that, you know, that he's not trying to compare the two. Like, she's still beautiful in her original form. It's not about like, oh, I'm in a new life, I'm so much more beautiful now. I appreciate the artist adding things like flowers around her panels in her original body to show that she was still beautiful as a quote-unquote ordinary Korean girl. Like, I really, really like that, because that's something that I do not see a lot in other comics.
Yeah, definitely adds to the glamour factor that she's able to have like some of the things that are considered like the main character elements. I want to add too, oftentimes when we go back to the past life, we don't even see a face as well for the
Mm-hmm.
female lead, which is just like, again, it downplays her previous life. I get it. I get why they do that because they want to focus on the main
Detach it.
storyline,
Mm-hmm.
obviously. But this is a great interweaving of past life with the current one. I think it's a master class for sure.
Mm-hmm. I really, really like how they did it.
Question, why is the brother in charge of her move?
Right? I was like reading that and I was like, excuse me, why would you, especially, okay, let's say he's not a shitty father and he sees what's going on. Like, I mean, we both know he sees what's going on. It's obvious that she
Right.
is getting,
She points it out.
she points it out too. Why would you give that responsibility to the abuser of your daughter?
I don't get it. I don't understand it.
And she's still like,
there's
ugh, like, why would he do it? Because he was gonna find the crappiest place for her because he doesn't care about her.
It is like it's a plot hole for sure because there's some things like logically that doesn't really make sense, and I think this is where we get some of that like flat dimensional villain character where like they're kind of just bad because they are bad. They don't have like multi-facetedness.
Yeah,
Facet?
they're just villains. They're just
Facetedness.
villains with no.
Yeah, villain to the core, like no complexity at all.
Mm-hmm.
Obviously we'll see more complexity from the other characters, but like I feel like even when we get to see the other brothers, they're kind of just as bad.
Yeah, they're just bad, and you're like, it's just
Yeah.
goofy. It's really goofy how they're just so mean, and they don't really like. They're like, oh, you're just not part of my family. Okay, even if you don't consider my family, why are you treating me this way? You don't have to treat me like trash just because you don't consider me family. I'm still human. But alas,
Yes,
can't make sense when someone is just cartoony villainish, you know?
Yeah. So let's move on to the actual game itself. I feel like I love her reaction to it being like, this is so cringy, this is so cheesy. And
Right?
she's like, I'm obsessed.
It's
Let
really
me stay up
funny
all night and play it.
because
It's very relatable.
yes, I really like how, I mean, the game's name is Daughter of the Duke Love Project. And she says how it's so, how did a game get this trendy? This looks so cheesy. And she says something about, yeah, she says like it's cheesy. Like the name's cheesy. But I feel like, oh, it says, how did a game with this name get trendy? I'm like, Daughter of the Duke Love Project is pretty tame compared to like the actual comics that are out there and the long ass titles that you can find.
God.
And I was like, girl, there's
Yeah.
worse. There's worse. Like, trust me,
Okay.
there's worse.
I have one. Trapped in a dating sim, the world of otome games is hard for mobs.
Like, why is this
Such
all
a
like?
mouthful.
I was like, girl, you're just getting started if you think that's cheesy.
But maybe she doesn't watch like anime and
No, I
like
think she
doesn't
doesn't.
have-
I mean, she didn't have the time because she just had to work hard to get out of that house. So I understand.
Yeah.
It's just so funny being a veteran manhwa reader and
Yes.
be like, girl,
Thank you for your service.
there's such a baby thing to say, you know. But about the
Yeah.
game, again, it's divided in two modes. So the normal mode, you play as Yvonne, and all the male lead characters start at 30% of affection, and you basically have to go through certain events and go through like multiple choice options to raise that affection, and then in the end you have to get at least one of the male leads to 100% to end the game and get an ending, right? While Penelope's playing them, she's like, girl, this is easy. But hard mode, it's so much harder because all the male leads either start at 0 or a negative affection. So they hate you, right?
Yes.
As a villainess.
Yeah.
And I feel like also it's really interesting how they never say the male leads' names or even really introduce them in the first 2 chapters. They just say, oh, there's 5 male leads. There's just 5 male leads.
Yeah.
And that's it. Like,
it's good foreshadowing. It makes you very curious
it's
who
like,
these
I
are.
want to know who the male lead is. Tell me who it is. I think that's how they pull you in. But essentially, the 5 male leads is 2 brothers of the game's female heroine, Yvonne. And don't worry, in the normal mode, supposedly the affection for these the 2 brothers isn't romantic, it's familial. She just kind of has to. The 100% basically means a really good sibling bond rather than romantic. So I feel like, yeah, it is. They did say it later on, because a lot of people were like,
it is a little
hello,
Alabama,
but
it's very Sweet Home Alabama.
It's not. They make sure to say. I think it was later on that it's just sibling relationship, because a lot of people were. At least I'm saying Yvonne. I don't know about Penelope. But Yvonne's relationship with the 2 male leads that are her brother are strictly familial, which bare minimum, right?
Why can't we copy paste that treatment for Penelope? Because I don't care if it's a clueless effect, like step siblings or whatever. No, simply no, you can't. No.
Callisto, he's the crown. There's always the crown prince and the male leads. And then an enslaved prince from a fallen nation turned knight. And then a sorcerer. Those are the 5 male leads. 2 of them, not romantic. The other 3 are. And again, to get 100% with a male lead, you have to get a confession in the end. And that's how like the game ends. You have to get it to 100%. And that's what she tries to do. So she plays the normal mode. Penelope plays the normal mode. And apparently, super relatable. She stayed up all night playing the game, right? Mood. She's like, it's my free day. I'll just play a little bit of the chapters and then I'll go to sleep. Like, I'll go to sleep early. She does not.
It's a trap.
It's a trap. That's how they get you. And she plays through literally, apparently, in 3 hours, because she says, wow, it's been 3 hours. In 3 hours, she played all the endings of normal mode.
I mean, kind of iconic, no?
How do you do that? How do you, 5 male leads and you get all their endings?
You know what, though? She didn't get any ads or have to, buy coins.
Right, okay, that's what I'm saying. That's because I was like, what kind of dating sim would have you just play through a game, no ads, no coins, no money, no buy the stress to make them like you better. No. I'm like, I wish. Can I play this game? Can I play the game? I want to play the game.
Drop the link.
Drop
the link.
What you're telling me that she didn't have to do absolutely anything to she just and it's a mobile game. Okay, if it was I've seen Nintendo dating sims where
that's it's a little different.
It's just a visual novel. It just, you interact with the characters, yada yada, and you don't really have to pay. There's no in-game currency. But a mobile game, I mean, later on apparently hard mode does have in-game currency, but in normal mode, which is what she played, because she refused to spend money on it, normal mode had no in-game currency. So it was dang. So that's how they hook you. It's I played our normal mode. Let's play the hard mode. And then hard mode is when they start making you pay money. So that's what happens to her. She plays all the endings, right? Wins over all the various male lead characters and raises their affection scores. And then disposes of the villainess, right? And it's really funny because she's like, oh, I have a lecture in the morning. I'll go to sleep early. And then 3 hours later, she didn't sleep at all. And she's like, oh, this is more fun than I expected. And she says that she feels like she's watching her own story. Well, she's playing normal mode. Which I'm like, girl, you're not Yvonne. If you're anyone...
Well, she says that... She does say that,
later on,
there's discrepancies.
She says, the heroine forgets her identity and lives in poverty until she returns to the Duke's household. I also became a part of my father's wealthy family. And then also there's the 2 older brothers, not really liking the appearance of like the younger sister. And she's having fun. And then she brings up how the affection score starts at 30 in normal mode. And then she's like, too easy even for a beginner. This should be called easy mode instead of normal mode. And the game was like, you sure about that? Because then when
they took that as a challenge.
they're like, you want hard, I'll give you hard. Because then she finishes that mode and then she gets the pop-up that says you're able to purchase the game's hidden ending, which is like the hard mode, right? I think. And the cost apparently is $85. In conversion, it's 100k won, but $85 for a mobile game?
That's
daylight robbery.
That's a trap.
Daylight robbery. Like,
we call the police.
My wallet is saying, like, I can't. $85. I mean, I could, but I would never let myself just spend $85 on a mobile dating sim. And
no, I would feel shame, and I don't think I would be disowned from my family if I did that.
It says, okay, the hidden ending. The game says you can either get the hidden ending by spending the $85 or playing the hard mode, right?
Right.
So she's like, okay, so free version. Let's go hard mode. She's like, I guess I'll have to clear it as well. It's already late and I have class tomorrow. But then she's like, how hard could it be? How hard could it be? She's like, oh my god, I'm the villainess now. And it says in hard mode.
She's gorgeous.
Oh my god, I know. Let me pull up that panel that she gets introduced, cause
such beautiful. A villainous pose, by the way, and her nails, so iconic.
I know.
I think like the first character that I seen where I was like, clock the nails.
So pretty. But the panel that gets her introduced, beautiful. Like, she's so pretty. I love the color scheme and how unruly her hair is. Like, it's not like straight. It's like there's some volume and like craziness to it that like it really screams villainous. And I love how more vibrant Penelope is compared to Yvonne. Like, she's more rougher on the edges, while Yvonne, who's her colors are more faded and more like pastel colors. I really, really like the contrast between them. But
yes.
Essentially, it says in hard mode, the story develops from the perspective of the villainess, and she is the Duke's fake daughter who enters the Duke's household instead of his lost daughter. And then it says what. So basically, the hard mode storyline happens before Yvonne gets introduced to the story, because the closer you get to Yvonne being introduced, the higher the chance Penelope has to getting killed. And in the hard mode, you have the same male leads. Now, I do not know if the brothers in this story, like in hard mode, consider her. They don't consider her a sibling. So I do not know if they're supposed to be considered romantic male leads. So I guess you gotta infer. Undetermined. We don't know yet. It would be technically not related by blood, but it's weird. It's
weird.
Because she supposedly, I mean, when she was younger, she looked like Yvonne. She doesn't look like her anymore because her popped out more. But she looks like your sibling, you know? Regardless of whether she's a sibling or not, she looks like your sister. That's why your dad took her in the first place. But
yes.
Basically, that's where the first chapter ends. It ends with, like, Penelope being introduced and the female lead being like, oh, okay, well, let's start the hard mode, right?
Yeah.
Definitely the most unrealistic part of this whole chapter is it's not her getting transnegated to the game. It's how the game developers in any Ultimate game, mobile at least, always make you wait 72 hours to see a 30-second slideshow of a hot anime guy. Like, it's
that's
always
so true.
Like,
where's that video?
It takes so long, right? But she played a whole chunk of the game for free.
Yeah.
Like, I think, like, that's the most unrealistic part. Like, she had no in-game currency, no, like, I guess, I mean, we don't see really how the game is, but we don't see her complaining about anything costing money until the end. Or, like, having to wait. Obviously, she didn't have to wait because she finished the story in 3 hours. So, I'm like, that's unrealistic. That, to me, To me, that's the most unrealistic part of this chapter. Because I wish drop the name of the game because I want to play it.
Yeah. I want to talk a little bit fashion because that's why I'm here. But I am trying to source what era this would technically be in. Obviously, I think it's like a modernized version of
Hmm.
European dress. I think what I'm seeing, at least so far, bustle in the back, which I would then assume would be like 1900s is what my guess would be. But it's like this piece has me so confused about where this would belong decade wise. I'm very curious to see what kind of like timeline wise where the author or the artist sourced their inspiration from.
You know what? Now that you bring up the close up, I am wondering
Hmm.
in her introduction panel, supposedly she's a villainess. She covets all jewels and golds, and she's like crazy about him. Like she spends so much money, and she's like a
Yeah,
luxurious villainess. Where are the jewels at?
yeah.
Where's the
That
intricate,
is
crazy dress in that introduction? Because I feel like that
that is
dress is
the
pretty tame, and so is the jewelry. It's literally
yeah.
just a choker with a gem. I feel like other
So the
comics
choker,
definitely show
mhm,
way more. Like when they say villainous, they pull up the lace, the crazy like lace chokers with like the
the
beautiful
floral, like
gems, the floral.
always the like black lace floral is
Yeah.
what I'm always seeing for these like extravagant villainesses. Choker, though, bringing up a good point. Chokers were popular in the 1920s and 40s. So
Oh.
it's just a lot of elements. Like these are getting us closer and closer. But again, it's like lots of elements that like the superfluous of the like the bows make me think like Marie Antoinette. But then like the choker also is like, okay, 1920s and 40s. But no, you make a really good point. As far as like even compared to like our standards, this is relatively simple.
Right?
Very like,
Like I
yeah,
just
very like townsperson,
obviously
honestly.
it doesn't scream luxurious villainous to me. She's beautiful. She looks gorgeous in that dress. It's very simple,
Hmm.
based on like suppose because this is the panel of the OG villainous. Like she this is the one that's used in the supposedly in the game panel. She's supposed like
Yeah.
I'm sorry, this is not like I'm thinking like Roxana from
I know what you're talking about. Red eyes, right?
see,
Blonde
yeah,
hair?
yes. Blonde hair. It's
No,
extravagance. Like,
yeah, she's a material girl. She really is.
and I love that for her. She owns
She,
it.
yeah.
Penelope here, I'm sorry. Like, it doesn't. She's
Giving
again
poor.
beautiful.
It's giving budget.
I would love to wear that dress, but I'm poor. I'm a college broke student. She supposedly is the daughter of a duke who loves jewels and
Mhm.
loves new dresses and changes her wardrobe every 2 seconds. That doesn't scream that to me. Anyways, yeah,
Bringing
I
it
like
up.
noticed that like it's like you brought up the clothes. Like, wait, that doesn't really match the personality that we're given for Penelope. But
No,
yeah,
very fair point. Great point. Adding on to that, when you compare it to the OG Yvonne
right?
clothes, Yvonne honestly is the Marie Antoinette of when you see like just the or like chapter one clothes, like
Yeah,
the bows are so much more, and then like you can
the
see like
florals,
so much draping.
pastel.
Yeah,
Mm-hmm.
there's it's just like yeah, but like if you put them side to side, there's no argument that Yvonne's would be the one that would be more extravagant
Yeah,
in comparison.
even though she's supposedly the goody two
Mm,
shoes that
very
volunteers,
humble.
very humble.
Yes.
Like obvious. I
Interesting.
mean, I love Yvonne's clothes are cute. I don't. I love wearing my dress with bows. I'm just compared to supposedly the villainess. Her stuff
It's
is
a
more.
very like yeah.
It's different. I feel like Penelope's clothes was done dirty in this intro panel. I mean, again,
Mhm.
beautiful. She looks amazing. Give me
I think
more.
this
Punch me in
I'm
the
curious
face with it.
I'm curious if this was intentional. It's like the hypocrisy, right? Of she's supposed to be this person that everyone thinks is like this big bad wolf, but in actuality, that's not the case. The Yvonne's even in the panel with the villainess Penelope, Yvonne's dress is patterned versus Penelope's being just solid color.
Yes.
To me, that's like clearly there's favoritism here, and you can tell.
And this is supposedly, like, I think before, this is, because if you think, okay, when Penelope takes over Penelope's body, apparently her name is Tashion. Okay. Shion's, when she takes over Penelope's body, her dresses are better. You know, like, they look a little bit more, like, there was more thought put into it. And I don't know if, like, Penelope's dress looks kind of in the intro panel to show that, one, everyone in that household hated her. Like, her maid literally, did what she did.
Oh, we need to talk about that. Can we? Okay, we gotta move on to chapter 2.
Yes,
just
we do.
so we can talk about that moment. Because
But
that was crazy. What the hell?
This doesn't scream villainous, and I don't know if, because even the dad and the brothers say that, oh, she spent so much money on jewels and dresses, and it shows that she actually does later on in the chapter. Spoiler, like, Penelope was using a lot of money for jewels. Like, that was something that she really, really liked. But where are the jewels at? That's all I'm saying. Chapter 2 basically is about the female lead trying to play hard mode and dying over and over and over again. And she just cannot beat the game. She can't. And she's really frustrated. It's like, why is it so freaking difficult? And not only do you have to, like, earn favor, but every wrong move ends in death. Like, in a game over. Every game over for hard mode is Penelope dying. And she's frustrated. Because, like, why is it so gruesome that I die every wrong choice? And I like how she brings up how she seemed so evil in normal mode from Yvonne's, like, point of view. But now that she's in her shoes, which ironically she's always been, because Penelope's life is her life.
Oof. Yep. Tell him.
She realized she didn't even do anything wrong, which Penelope didn't. Like, why does everyone treat her that way? I don't know how she didn't. I guess because the game wasn't Yvonne's point of view, she didn't notice. But, like, her similarities with OG Penelope are, like, they basically had the same life. They have taken in after the moms died by a neglectful father, 2 older brothers who resent you and emotionally, physically abuse you. In her OG life, because her existence basically means her dad had an affair, and then Penelope because the dad looked to replace the brother's lost sibling. Like, it just the same. Like, how do you not notice that when you first played? I don't know. I'm a sucker for villains. I'm an empath. No, I'm not. But
Me an empath.
I think it's very interesting how she didn't see that first time around. If I had played this game, I would have been like, hold on a second. This kind of sounding familiar. This sounds real familiar. My feelings would have been hurt.
I think that was intentional, though, in the sense of, like, well, okay, first one, if we can determine that Yvonne is not actually as good of a person as people think she is, if she's automatically thinking that Penelope is not, she's the villain. Because if we're playing from Yvonne's perspective and we immediately see her as kind of this villain, that means, like, hypothetically, maybe that is also what Yvonne also feels.
I mean,
because I don't think she's as nice as people say.
Well, obviously, always in stories like this, the heroine, I feel like that's one of the things that was you kind of can see it coming. Every time there's a villainess in the story, the heroine, I wish it was like a girl supporting girls, but the original heroine is usually always, oh, she was a hidden villain. It's like, can they just be, like, genuinely good?
There is one, and we should
we should talk
again
about
we should read that one too.
But I guess, I mean, we don't know though, because we haven't really seen it. But you bring up a very interesting point of, like, when you played in Yvonne's point of view, Penelope was the villainess right off the bat. But then if we're thinking from a good Yvonne, right? She's good. Can you imagine? I don't know. They didn't ever say how she gets lost those 6 years ago. Can you imagine getting lost and, like, living in poverty just to find out that your dad replaced you with someone else that looks like you?
I know. That would be sick and twisted. I would be like, bruh.
I'd be like, what do you mean? What do you mean that? What do you mean? Who's this? I'd be like, who's this?
What the dog doing?
What do you mean that? Like, I don't get
It's the
it.
Spider-Man emoji. It's the Spider-Man meme where they're all pointing at each other.
Yes.
Girl, that
Like,
is so
if
embarrassing.
we're thinking of Yvonne being a generally good character, a generally good person, my feelings would be hurt. If I went
For sure.
missing and I come back and I realize I've been replaced, I don't know if I would. Okay, OG Penelope was a villain. She was a villain. She
Yeah.
was a villain because of her circumstances and how she was treated, right? But she,
Right.
regardless, she was still a villain. She still poisoned Yvonne's. She still did what she did. But she suffered her. It's a abuse to becoming abuser kind of deal, and the cycle continues.
Yes. Yes.
But from Yvonne's perspective, I'm going to feel threatened by someone that took my place when I was gone. And who's supposedly like trying to poison me and kill me, you know? So I kind of see that, but at the same time, we don't know Yvonne's true character because we haven't seen it. But it's a very interesting point to raise that I feel like when Penelope was first playing that normal mode, she liked it because this is the life that she wished that she had.
Yeah.
You know,
Yeah.
that is the Cinderella story that she wished she had gone through. That's why I think oh, our stories are similar. You know, maybe I can find my happy ending too. I feel like it's what the author was going for. Of like, this is my life. I escaped. I am in a good place now. This is my happy ending. I am so happy that someone similar like me found a happy ending. But then when she plays hard mode and she is Penelope, you can see her genuinely being frustrated and throwing her phone and being like, just survive once. Just once. And initially she's saying that how she wanted the hitting ending. But she likes playing it. But I feel like she's so stubborn and desperate for Penelope to survive. I think it has to do with her escaping her bad life and wanting Penelope to survive because she is Penelope. Her story is Penelope's. What do you mean she's not getting a happy ending? Does that mean that I don't get a happy ending too? You know,
Oh my God, I'm gonna cry.
she wants Penelope to find a happy ending because if she doesn't, what happens with me? Like, she wants her to thrive as much as, you know, and it's so sad. After she gets introduced, it says how the villainous predicament becomes more unfortunate no matter how much she begs for affection. So no matter what Penelope does, villainous in hard mode, it's like ends in every death. And I feel like I really like that they say that and like how she gets so frustrated and like dying over and over again in the game. You can smell a whole lot of PTSD and inability to open up and trust anyone incoming for Penelope because of this. You know, especially since she already lived through abuse in her own life and now she has to relive it, but it's worse because she can actually die. Like in her OG life, the siblings are shitty, but you wouldn't think they would kill her.
Right.
In Penelope, she knows that if there's a wrong move, she's dead. Because you've seen it. She's played the game over and over again. Every mistake ends in a death. I don't know. It's going to explain a lot of the trust issues she's going to have and inability to open up in future chapters and why she can never catch a break. Because she can never take the mask off because she cannot be caught slacking because she's going to get her throat like sliced off.
Yeah.
Essentially, she stays up all night trying to win and keep Penelope alive. But alas, she can't, right? And personally, you know what I do when I play really hard games? I personally would have just looked up a tutorial on how to pass the hard mode. Like, I'm so sorry. If it's that hard, I'm looking it up. I do not want to go maybe 3-4 times. Fourth time that I die, I'm going to be like, I'm so sorry. How the hell do you actually pass this game? Because at that point, I would be pulling my hair out from frustration. I would not just be like, I'm just gonna keep playing over and over again. And she's frustrated, obviously, but I don't think I would have not gone to sleep. I would have looked up a tutorial and I would have done it with it. I just can't. I would have had to pass it. Even if I have to look, I think that's why I could never be in Penelope's place because I always have to look up tutorials when something's super hard and I can't pass it because I have to pass it. Give me the tutorial. Like, I can't, if I can't do it on my own, I still want to pass it.
I think what the reset part of the manhwa also is very much foreshadowing to me of like when it gives Penelope's character of like she is kind of compulsive. She wants things to work out no matter what, almost to her detriment in a sense. I think like for one that makes her built for an isekai situation because I'm sorry, if I was in her situation, I would not be able to be like, oh, I failed once again. guess we'll just have to move on and go to the next. No, I would be in my, I think I would dig up a hole and just start crying.
Yeah.
I just don't have the perseverance she has.
I guess you do bring up
But
a good point that that was very impulsive. Like,
mhm,
if you're dying so much, you're
I
not.
wonder,
Are you thinking about what made you fail?
yeah,
She uses that knowledge and what she went through when she becomes Penelope, but when she's playing the game, she's like, it doesn't matter, I have the reset button. You
yes.
know, it
But
doesn't
I
matter. I'll just
also,
keep resetting until I pass it.
mhm,
Interesting. I never
I
thought of
feel
her
like
as impulsive until you brought it up.
yeah, no, I've always thought the reason because I didn't realize this when I first read my when I like fast read through everything, but when I saw the reset part, I was like, this has to be part it has to get incorporated into the story later on or something. That there's something she messes up or like when she's getting to a really close point, we do get reset back. Because I think there's just so much more significance than we think there is. But also, I think this idea of like, I wish she could get a happy ending, the main characters being like an empathetic character, an empath,
Mm-hmm.
her, an empath, is such a trope now that's associated with especially isekai. Of like,
Villainous
oh,
isekai
I just
specifically.
wish she could be, especially villainous. Like, we're just looking for redemption. We're looking for like that revenge story. But I think she's very wholesome in the sense that she's like, no, I just wish she like had a happy ending. Like for me, I'm like,
Yeah.
no, do them all dirty. Set the whole world on
Set
fire.
the
Do
world
whatever
on
you want.
fire. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I'm not as kind as like Penelope is. Like I think that's very sweet. She's just like, no, I just want her to have like a happy ending.
Rather than, she's not resentful, but I wouldn't say she's particular, because she sees the worst in people. After everything she goes
Yes.
through, she just cannot think that someone could genuinely be kind to her. Like, there's always an
Right.
ulterior motive. So I don't know if she
Mm-hmm.
went, I feel like that's the side of the other coin. It's like, if you don't get angry, if you're not vocal about it, you're just kind of, I think, okay, this is what happens. See, Penelope and Sean, they're the same, two sides of the same coin, because Penelope,
Yes.
with her and going through the abuse, she's vocal about it. She
Mm-hmm.
throws tables. She like says something. You know, she does not take it. However, Penelope, she's kind of forced to sit back and think about it through, because she can't just be impulsive. She can't just come out and say it. She just has trust issues, and she'll always be skeptical about it. She'll always be cynical, skeptical. She cannot expect people to be kind to her, because the world has never been kind to her. So Penelope,
Yeah.
OG Penelope, is like, she's the I'll let the world burn. You know,
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
I'll hurt anyone that hurts me. While
I
new Penelope, she's more of like the empath and the this really hurt me. I'm just gonna close myself off, and I know that you're doing that bad thing. I'm not gonna let you do it
mhm.
again, because I'm never gonna let you get close enough to do so. You know, it's like the same
I
thing but different reactions to the problem.
I want to push back on that a little bit. I feel like Penelope is the little kid in this situation, the more wholesome one, honestly, because the things that she's doing, throwing a tantrum, throwing like tables, doing all of this stuff, it's very like little kid things to me. Her desire was just, I want to be loved, versus going in because she's seen all of this and she views this as a game.
Mm-hmm.
Our OG female lead is kind of like much more strategic because she doesn't really see them as people,
No, she does
to be
not.
honest. She sees them as a way to get to like what she needs to just survive.
To get
You
back
know what is a
to get back
crazy,
home.
yeah, to get by, yeah, and get home. A crazy statement that I noted down. I can buy affection with money. No, I'm crazy. What?
I mean,
What do you mean? What do you mean by that?
I mean, in the game, once you start hard mode, there's like the little in-game currencies where you can just use money to
But
raise the
to
affections.
include that, yeah, to include that in the dialogue in particular, I think this speaks a lot about kind of how she views it, right?
I
Very transactional.
very transactional, and I think it really foreshadows her relationship with one character in the future.
Yes.
We're not
Yes.
gonna say
I know what you're
who,
talking about.
but
We're
it
not gonna talk about it.
shows that that's
It shows.
exactly what she's doing. She's buying off
She
affection, and it shows that she was acting the same way beforehand. And I never made that connection until you said it. That's crazy.
That touches my heart. Thank you. The reassurance is everything to me. Yeah.
Back to the plot. Back to going through the
Yes.
chapter. She resets, and it's game over and over again. And it's basically dawn. She played all night. And basically all morning is dawn's breaking. And
Hey, we've all been there.
we've all been there. She's like, I didn't even come close to an ending, to the hitting ending. And she's so annoyed about it. And she's like, again, I'm going to start again until the villainous end is in death. So she's like, I'll do this until Penelope doesn't die. And I guess she drifts off into sleep and she becomes Penelope. But honestly, I'm kind of confused. I think this is like a plot hole. How does she actually get transported to the game, though? Like, they didn't explain in this episode, and also don't ever mention what happened to her OG body. I don't know if it's something that's going to be brought up in the future chapters.
You're so right.
But
Trucksama did not play into this.
No,
Maybe it's just because
Trucksama-
she was sleeping near her phone.
But did she die and that's how she got transported? Like, what happened? Did she just go to sleep? Like, it did. Because usually in other comics that we've seen isekai, she either gets trampled by Trucksama, right? She dies from overwork in an office, right? And she's like, I can't believe I'm gonna take it easy in my next life. Or she's like really, really sick and like she has everything bad happen to her and she dies and gets reborn into like a new life, right? We don't know. Like, did she just go to sleep and like, or if it's like a video game related webcomic, which there's many out there that I've read, they have her, I don't know, fall asleep and you can hear like a little click or something and it shows that a screen pops up, right? And it's like the video game taking her in. There's one like with Trucksama that the truck runs the female lead over and she's like, she had the game open or something and you can see in her phone that the phone was like extracting her. It literally said that it was extracting her. And this one is like, she went to sleep and she woke up and she's Penelope. So I hope that they go into it more in depth in like later chapters.
Hold on. My suspicion, Penelope is the one that died. And therefore, she's the one, she got transported over because of like, I don't know, some voodoo where, you know, they say like when you go to sleep, your souls like rise out of your body or whatever. But I have a feeling that I think that would be very smart to do it that way, of like, it's a reverse of, no, it's not the real life person that dies, but the one in the comic. And that's how you get that's how she got pulled in.
Penelope dies over and over again in the game. So maybe there's theory time. Maybe Penelope dying
last one
was the actual like
actually died.
Game over and she died and Chashion takes over her body.
Yeah.
And I hope, you know what I hope they don't do, because it's something that they do all the time in villainous stories like this, where it's like I was actually originally Penelope and I got transported into Korea and now I'm back into my original world. I hope they don't do that, because they do that so much. You know, like, I hope
feels like a
very cheap way to explain that why she just so good at the game, or like why everything felt so familiar. It's because she's going through it. You know, I hate. To me, it seems a little bit cheap. Like a cheap way to say, oh, she was destined to come because she was already from here. Give me someone that has never done... I mean, for example, Chashion, she never played an Ultimate game. She's like, what is this, right? And she just goes into the game, and it's very hard, and it's very unfamiliar. Familiar in a way that she's gone through this before, and she's played the game, but not I've lived in this world before. I hope they don't make it into, oh, she was always destined to come back. She was Penelope all along. I kind of hope they don't do that.
It's very much the excuse trope, like in movies where they're like, it was all a dream. Okay, so you wasted 2 hours of my life for this. But skipping ahead, the panel of, yesterday night, what do you think of that? Where she's like, it looks like the eldest brother is the one that's about to kill her or something.
You know what? I never even looked at this panel. Like, I feel like I just skimmed through it.
I know. No, I just saw it a couple seconds ago,
too. No, she's Penelope for real.
Do you think?
I think so. I think it has to be because, okay, for those audio viewers, you can basically see
we need to describe it.
Penelope on her knees in front of what looks like the eldest brother in the actual world where she's the villainess, and she says, "Oh right, yesterday night." Yes. And I feel like
big clue.
She says, "Oh," and they continue it with like, "Oh, I opened my eyes." Like they continue the sentence, but the whole "oh right, yesterday night" feels very much. Now that you said it, because I this completely skimmed over my head. It gives me the feeling of this is her past life. Like before she went to Korea, this is what happened. This is her last death and how she died, and she can see it. I've never seen this I don't know how I skipped this panel, but you're so right. It does give, especially the way that they cut the sentence. The way they cut the sentence was like,
it's so smart, so genius.
I have a very, very like high, like I'm pretty sure that she's Penelope. Now that you've brought this panel, literally confirms my suspicions. I think she's Penelope.
Bring on the bets. Come back. We're all betting.
I think I would bet money that she's the real Penelope come back from Korea.
Yeah.
That's crazy. I never even thought of this panel.
I know. It's kind of literally like it's a mic dropper for sure. But I'm sorry, I have to skip to her nightwear. The two straps, there's
choking her.
She's wearing a nightgown. There's a nightgown, and there's two, like, it's like a halter top situation. Is it halter? It's a cross, like, strap situation around her neck. I'm sorry, I thought it was cunty, but
you say cunty, I say she's it's choking her. It's literally
like wait a minute.
Even when you wear bras that are crossed, they never cross around your neck because you can choke. It can choke you. That's crazy.
I was like, this is kind of giving, because like
it's really pretty.
The nightgowns just have that like off the shoulder. Which off the shoulder? Are you joking? That would never work in a sleeping situation. You know, like one titty is gonna just pop out of there in the middle of the night. Are you joking? An off.
Yippee! It would come out
off the shoulder.
True.
So maybe that's why she has the cross
maybe
top situation.
Personally, too many bows to go to sleep. Too many bows.
That's true.
I feel like that would come down.
That's also a punishment. Yeah. We have to talk about the arm thing because
skipping ahead. You can see I cannot. Okay, so what happens in the game? She wakes up and she's Penelope, right? And she feels a pain shooting up her arm, and she looks at it and she notices there's basically like needle marks and like it's bruised, and she's like, what the hell is going on? What is this? How do you get pricked by needles over and over again and not wake up?
That is tea. But maybe again, transmigration situation. So I'm giving some like pity points for that,
I guess. But to me, crazy that she would even think about doing that, and like how she got away with it with the actual villainess, because this is what's happening to Penelope, and it shows. It says that it shows in the game that Penelope, she's like, why the hell is she doing this to me? And she's like, I never even saw this in the game. She's thinking, I never saw this. And then 2 seconds later, you can see in one of the bad endings where she dies, you can see the prickles of the needles on her arm and the bruises. And she's like, I thought it was blood. But I'm thinking, so Penelope was going through this physical abuse in like the original game, and it's never brought up. Obviously it was never brought up because Penelope is just finding out about it. It's crazy how she was already being physically abused, and I wonder why nothing ever happened. Nothing was ever brought up. Like, I wonder why she never said anything, like the actual Penelope.
Yeah, maybe it was just the line for her. She's like, I'm so done, like the hopelessness again. Like, sorry to be depressing, but like, again, she's probably like, I just don't care at this point.
Yeah. And then it's so sad because literally like a few seconds later, she says, I suffered years in that doghouse I was forced to call my home. This doesn't even tickle me. Like, it's so sad that she thinks this abuse is nothing compared to what she's already been through. And then when she tries to like say something about it, she can't. That's when we realize, us readers and Penelope realizes that she cannot talk without the choices. She has to wait until the choices pop up for her to say anything, which is crazy. Like, I mean, the concept of like predetermined dialogue choices I think is pretty unique. and I think it's really good.
Yes. Yes. Agreed.
Honestly, it really shows how Penelope was basically forced into the villain role. Like, these are the only... all the choices sucked. But it truly shows how she was forced into that role to survive. Like, these 3 choices, they're all terrible. They all make you look bad. But you gotta do it if you want to survive. And it's crazy. She knew nothing more. This are the choices that she had. And I would personally hate so much that I can't even choose, like, choices that aren't even my own. I cannot, like, especially since all the choices suck. I would be so pissed. I wouldn't know what to do.
Yeah, it is like basically like setting her up for failure, basically.
And then when she realizes that Penelope had been physically abused the entire time in the game, outside of what the game scenes actually showed, the maid not only brings her like cold water to wash herself, girl, she brings her moldy, rotten food to eat.
The disrespect.
And she like serves her with a smile. And I cannot. I don't think I could bring myself to eat that. Because it's crazy how she is then given choices, right? And she's given the food by the maid. And the 3 choices are one worse than the other. First one is, are you insane? Call the cook. Flips the table. Number 2, how about you stuff yourself instead, and then forcibly feeds the maid. And then the third one is eat and say nothing. Like,
I would do too. What about you?
I mean, personally, I would do too as well. I'd be like, I wouldn't say it like that. I would be like, come here. Oh, you know what? I'm not that hungry. How about you sit with me and we eat together? If I gotta eat it, girl, you eating it too.
Oh.
You eating it too.
No, I'd be like,
and if someone comes in and says something, I'll be like, oh, I'm just sharing the food that she brought me and she thought it was okay for me to eat. We're just eating together.
Yeah.
We're having a good meal, aren't we? You know, you can't.
I'm being worse.
What are they gonna say? You cannot tell me that the brother, for example, can get mad at me for saying anything because she brought me the food. I'm eating it, but she's eating it with me. We're friends, right? Right? You know, she's my maid. That's what I would do. I don't think I would like forcibly stuff her like that. I'll be like, okay, sit down and eat with me. Come on, eat with me. What would you do?
It's a present.
It's a present.
I'd say it's a present. I'd be like, I'm not really hungry right now. I know, like, why don't you go ahead and eat for me?
You must be famished from such good care that you take care of me.
Yes, yeah. Gaslight, gatekeep, girl boss.
Yeah, I cannot believe. I mean, each of these 3 choices sucks. I'm such a germaphobe. I don't know if I could bring myself to eat the moldy food. I would throw up.
Yeah. No. When you accidentally taste mold, I've tasted it before, you immediately like know what it is. Like, I could not imagine like knowing what it is. And because okay, it's everywhere. It's not just like a little piece, you know, that sometimes like you don't notice. It's like the whole thing. It's turning a color that like I don't even usually see.
The soup, girl, the soup. Wait, look like that.
No,
dog.
The soup is too much. The soup is too much.
It's literally green. Literally green.
Yeah. So, really quick, let's transition to our segment, comment of the day. Do you have one?
I really, really like this one on the 2nd chapter. Okay, to wrap up the episode, she gets served the food and she's like, another set of choices, and this is the first time she's given choices, and she realizes that she cannot act or say anything until she chooses something. So there's that. And that's where the chapter ends. We don't know what she does next. But going to the comments, there's one that's really, really funny, and they said, should have just watched a YouTube tutorial. Honestly, should have, could have, would have. Why did you not do it?
Yeah, where's the cheats?
Give me the cheats. Because then she would have been like, oh, easy peasy. I've been through this. I know what to do. But she didn't. She was being hard-headed about it.
I love the realism for one of the commenters. They said, me reading this at 2 a.m. Well, better go to sleep. My dumbass would never survive getting isekai.
Mood. I don't think, if I was ever, I could never have been Penelope's role. I would die. Literally,
no.
I would die right away. I don't think I would have made it.
No.
And actually, someone says, "Am I the only one who'd Google how to do something in a game if I do it over and over and still fail?" Mood. I
That's
would
what
do
we
that too.
said.
Because I
Yeah.
don't think I could. I would get so mad. I mean, there's this one time I was playing like a Zelda game, and this one part was just, I could not freaking do it. I think I did it 40 times. I was like, I can't. I need to get this item, and it's not happening. And I had to look up the tutorial, and even when I looked up the tutorial, I was still failing. So, I don't know. I would be so pissed.
No, I definitely agree. Okay.
The comments
we...
all are saying, spit to it, and feed the maid. All of them are like, eat the food. Come on, eat the food.
Yeah. I like that we're all very much aligned with where our alliances would be. Can we close out really fast?
Well,
Get off. This is the end of the road. There's no more stops left.
all right, you know what that means? It is time to get off the truck and go into our own worlds. Let's wrap it up. Last stop.
Yep. Thank you so much for listening. We will see you hopefully soon, but that is it.
It was so fun. Thank you. Bye.